Hi everyone, in mid-August I went to Summer in the City. Now, what exactly is that? Well, allow me to explain. Summer in the City is a YouTube related convention that takes place every year in the middle of central London. It started out as a small gathering in Hyde Park in 2009 as a way for creators to meet up with some of their viewers and allowing viewers to meet up with each other for the first time. And ever since then it's expanded to the point where last year they got to host the event in Alexandra Palace, which was quite an achievement, I thought. And then this year they hit the big guns. London XL, a huge, great big conference venue right next to the Royal Victoria Docks. I don't know how many people attended this year, but I think it's something in the region of 8,000. And by the time this year's event had come around, all sorts of events were available for people to go to and participate in, including free panel rooms, stalls for creator merchandise, corporations and charities, an open mic stage, a main stage, a meet and greet area, a rest area, and various other stalls for food and drink, and, of course, the fun fair, including rides such as the Bounty Slide, Dodgem Cars, and Remix. Basically, a roller coaster seat-like thing that just spins you around and around and around in circles. So I think this year's event largely went very well. The new meet and greet ballot system, which basically gave you a sort of wristband thing temporarily to allow you to meet up with certified YouTubers at certain times in different parts of the meet and greet area, was quite a good idea. I managed to meet up with Gary C, Tom Burns, and Jamie Joe. What do you mean you've never heard of these people? Check out their channels! This was my first time going to Summer in the City, and I've got to say I did feel like a big kid while I was there, which I think was kind of the whole point for the most part. But that's a good thing. I really enjoyed that. It's nice to know that I can be able to enjoy experiences like this without having to resort to anything illicit or illegal. I mean, the only thing I really needed to get me pumped up was soft drinks. Lots and lots of soft drinks. Over the course of 2 days, I drank about 2 litres worth, which might not sound like much to some people, but to me it's far more than I would normally consume. There were only a couple of minor problems which I think the organisers would need to address for next year, and they include storage space. Because I was travelling on my own, I had this carrier bag full of stuff, food and other things to read to pass the time. But there was no storage space, lockers, etc. to allow me to put down my possessions, which meant I essentially couldn't go on the funfair rides for fear of having my personal belongings stolen. Now, I didn't realise this was even possible, but XL has a space at the front where you can charge your phones. So I think it would be possible to try and commission some lockers or something like that. Preferably not the ones that swallow up your money. I was at a swimming pool in Blackpool a few years ago. Okay, I know that took a weird turn, but bear with me. And I put £1 in the locker as deposit. And I'd assumed, based on the previous experience of another swimming pool, that all locker rooms were the same. I'd just put the money in and take it back out again once it was done. Unfortunately, that's not the way it worked. So I tested the key of the locker to see if it worked, open it again to find the locker had swallowed my money. Needless to say, my mum was not pleased about this. So, you know, I'd quite like the sort of locker that gives you your money back, but you know, it's up to you. Second thing was, I wasn't sure when was a good time to talk to creators on the floor. Now, I was lucky enough to meet 10 creators that I know from YouTube for the first time in the middle of the whole floor, which was great. I managed to have pictures taken and chats of varying lengths with them. But there were some people, like Tom Burns and Tomska, that I saw in the middle of the floor, walk past me, and I wasn't sure whether or not to say hi to them or something, for fear of being rude. Because yes, I know this is an incredibly exciting opportunity to meet some creators for the first time in my life, and I may not get the opportunity to meet them again, but I don't want to be rude. In fact, I almost literally bumped into Tom Burns while I was walking backwards. So I would recommend the introduction of a badge or something. Maybe a green triangle to say, yes, I'm okay to talk to you now, or a red triangle to say, please don't interrupt me, I am working it right now. Working it. Totally working it. And the third thing was, did somebody say Katie, one of the great YouTube people I happened to come across while standing in a queue, recommended in one of her own videos that a quiet zone be put up, or some kind of rest zone to allow people to calm themselves down. And I agree with that view, because as I was walking out of the S10 hall, there was one point where I saw a woman sat on the bench outside, clearly in a state of distress. which is obviously not a good thing. And I do appreciate there was a YouTube space near the entrance with all sorts of beanbags to sit on, which was nice, but it was just too loud, I think, because it was still essentially right in the middle of the whole floor with loads of people walking past and loads of noise being made and so on. Not good for somebody who suffers from serious anxiety or panic attacks, I would say. But apart from that, the event was largely brilliant. From the big things like the main stage performances from Dodie Clark, Jack and Dean, Megan Tonges, Weeble and so on, and the panel rooms with Serial Time Live, LGBTQ+, and small YouTubers. By the way, special thumbs up to small YouTubers, that was definitely my favourite panel of the lot. Thank you so much. To the little touches, like the Summer in the City publication, giving out advice to parents and guardians, to British Pregnancy Advisory Service's sperm keyring that they gave to me. Nothing personal, it's just something they were giving out. They are purple, and I think one of the women there said they turn red when they're warm. And of course, the giant Pikachu parade. Yes, there was an actual parade of giant Pikachus walking through the middle of the whole floor at one point. Something I was totally not expecting, but I've got to say, it was awesome. Totally awesome. So in my next video, I'm going to show you a compilation of footage I gathered from Summer in the City. There was only two problems for me personally with recording this footage. One, I'd forgotten to bring the charger for this camera, so my options were limited. Two, just before I went, I'd thought back to something Jack Howard had said in one of his videos, Don't Take the Shortcut, which was, and I quote, "What do you mean you didn't film any of it, Jack? We wanted to experience that with you. I wanted to just experience it with my own eyes, just have a human experience. But you're a YouTuber. I'm a bad YouTuber. Have we not had this conversation?" Yep, kinda sums me up in some ways, I think. So I was trying to balance this experience out between bits of footage that I wanted to record and use for YouTube and actual ordinary human experiences away from the camera, because, you know, being on camera like this, no matter the context, always seems to feel a little less real somehow, if you see what I mean. And indeed, most of what I did at Summer in the City doesn't make it into the video because I felt it was kind of too important to include, and it was too lengthy as well, not very YouTube friendly. But yes, thank you very much to everybody who's helped to make Summer in the City 2015 the great experience it has been for me, all the organisers, volunteers, security teams, creators, and attendees. It's been a great experience. I'm ready to go back next year. Bye for now.
I find that what affected me negatively a lot was when people would be like, "Who saw you on YouTube and you're sugar?" To which I eventually learned to reply with 6 very simple words: "Thanks for the ad revenue, bitch."